Hello everyone. So today we'll be talking about some history taking tips for a patient presenting with weight loss and diarrhea. I learned this today and I thought it's a really nice thing to share with you guys. So the scenario is a 30-year-old lady presenting with loss of weight and diarrhea. So you are required to take a history, perform a physical examination, and later on you'll have a 6-minute discussion with your examiner. Think of this as you're having an exam in a modular format. I'd like you to pause this video, think about some differential diagnosis that you'd like to think about, what are the questions that you want to ask to determine the diagnosis. And once you're done, you can come back to this video. Okay, I hope you have thought about some differentials and some questions. So in a patient presenting with loss of weight and diarrhea, first you want to explore more details about each of these symptoms, or each of these presenting complaints. And one very important thing that you need to know is the onset, because it makes a big difference, the onset. If the patient is having diarrhea starting only the past few days, you might be thinking of acute gastroenteritis. However, if the onset is in the magnitude of months, then we will think more of something more sinister going on. Together with the loss of weight, you might be thinking more of an inflammatory condition, such as celiac disease or inflammatory bowel disease, be it Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. Or because of loss of weight is a red flag sign of malignancy, you might even think on the line of that. Despite the age, loss of weight is a red flag sign. So questions you want to ask are onset, diarrhea, more details of the diarrhea. What's the frequency of the diarrhea? How many times do you go to the toilet in one day? How has that changed over the past however long you had the diarrhea? What's the content? Is there any blood or mucus in the diarrhea? And what's the consistency of the diarrhea? Is it very watery? And then in the loss of weight, you want to ask about how much weight they have lost. You want to quantify the weight loss, whether it is significant or not. Also, you want to ask about other systemic symptoms of someone who might have a malignancy, such as loss of appetite and feeling lethargic, systemic symptoms like fever. You gotta ask about these things, right? So you went ahead and asked the questions, and this is what you got. So the diarrhea started 3 months ago, so most probably acute gastroenteritis is out of the picture here. Something more chronic is going on. There's no blood, no mucus, and strangely no abdominal pain. So if celiac or inflammatory bowel disease, you would expect some blood and mucus in the stools, but there's none of this, and there's not even abdominal pain. So what could this be? Do you have any idea what this could be? You go ahead and ask more details about the weight loss. So loss of weight is unquantified. They didn't measure their weight. However, how they found out about this weight loss is their friends have been telling her that you're becoming more and more skinny, and she herself also noticed that her clothes are getting looser. So you can assume that this is a very significant weight loss. And what else do you want to ask? So remember, when you ask about loss of weight, right? You ask about when there's weight loss, you want to ask about change in appetite, because you want to correlate whether the weight loss is related to the change in appetite. So you go ahead and ask, and strangely, they have good appetite. She says she's been eating more than usual, in fact. And also, she has more energy and is unable to sleep at night. Quite strange, right? Because usually, conditions that cause loss of weight, you're thinking of the most sinister one, which is malignancy. Definitely, you have loss of appetite. Inflammatory bowel disease, celiac disease, all these inflammatory conditions, you have losing your energy and loss of appetite. But this patient has good appetite, has loss of weight with increased appetite and increased energy also. So, can you think of what might be causing weight loss plus increased appetite? It's quite atypical, right? So, here is what you can think of. If you thought about these differentials, kudos to you. So when there's weight loss and increased appetite, right, there are three conditions. You think in the line of, you have to think of in the line of what else might be causing this diarrhea, this weight loss plus increased appetite. What else can cause this other than GI? Then you have to think about endocrine and autoimmune causes. And the three differentials that you need to think about is hyperthyroidism, for example, Graves' disease. Next one is pheochromocytoma, where you have growths on your adrenal glands, producing lots of adrenaline or epinephrine. And the third differential is diabetes, type 1 diabetes mellitus. Right. So why is this, right? Weight loss and increased appetite. So when you have hyperthyroidism, right, you thyroid hormones are think of them as your metabolic hormones. When you have hyperthyroid, you have hypermetabolic state. You digest things faster, everything is faster. So even if you eat a lot, you're still losing weight. Pheochromocytoma is another one where you have lots of adrenaline. So you eat a lot, but you're still burning that weight. Yeah, you're burning whatever you eat because of the hormones. And type 1 diabetes as well, because you don't have, there's a defect in insulin production. So you're eating a lot to try to get energy, but you're losing weight because you can't make use of that energy, that starch that is broken down into glucose. You can't get that into your body, it's stuck in your bloodstream. So in these cases, you will have weight loss, but strangely increase in appetite. So whenever you ask about weight loss, remember to ask about appetite, because you want to correlate. Usually it will be loss of appetite, but when there's increase in appetite, these are the differentials. Think of endocrine causes, right? So behind here, right, at this stage, right, you might be able to get some clues when doing your systemic review. You might be asking questions from head to toe, some simple questions like any headache, any blurred vision, any shortness of breath, palpitations, chest pain, abdominal pain, bowel changes, any changes in urine output, any swelling in the legs. You might be able to find some clues, but if you're not thinking specifically about these differentials, then you might not be able to reach the diagnosis. Because you asked about headache here, you have headache in pheochromocytoma, but are you thinking about pheochromocytoma when you ask about headache? Same as urine output, polyuria. Are you thinking about type 1 diabetes mellitus when you just simply ask about polyuria in systemic review? So it's very helpful to have these differentials in your mind in a patient presenting with weight loss and increased appetite. So these are questions you need to ask. Hyperthyroidism, you need to ask about heat intolerance, any changes. Have you felt any changes in the way you feel hot or cold in a room? Have you had any excessive sweating, any tremors, any Have you felt your heart beating out of your chest? Any loss of weight, which is what the patient presents with here, diarrhea as well. It's part of the presenting complaint of this case. And oligomenorrhea, menstrual changes. In the case of hyperthyroidism is oligomenorrhea, and any neck swelling. I need to ask whether the neck swelling is painful or not, because painful swelling might point you more towards a thyroiditis. Graves' disease is not usually painful. Another condition which can present with weight loss, increased appetite, and sweating, palpitations is pheochromocytoma. And how do you differentiate pheochromocytoma from hypothyroid? You need to ask about headache. And later on in the physical examination, you will need to measure the blood pressure because in pheochromocytoma, you have high blood pressure. And the third differential of weight loss plus increased appetite is type 1 diabetes mellitus. And how do you differentiate this from the other two? You need to ask about polyuria and polydipsia in your history. Okay, I hope these tips will help you in your revision or examination or however it can help you. And thanks for watching this video. That's all I have for you. Thank you.